Thank you all for joining this session. I'm personally very excited to facilitate this session. In this session, you will learn why and how of engaging partners in Salesforce and examples and personal stories of, from the Trailblazer community leaders. My name is Ayako Sawada. I'm co-leader at the non-profit Netherlands user group. Today I'm joining here as a facilitator, and we have a fantastic panel here. Guido from left, from Salesforce, and Anna from YeurLeadin user group, and oh my gosh, Paul.
That's my job to forget people that I know really
I guess I'm a little bit nervous. Paul from Amsterdam user group.
My job to forget people I know really well.
All right. Yes. So just quick survey. How many of you are user group leader or co-leader here in this room? Okay.
All.
All right. Well, can be a Salesforce Saturday.
No.
User group leader. Okay. My mistake. All right. Then let's get started with Paul. So we have three panelists sharing the personal stories. So Paul says finding advocates within Salesforce has led to many opportunities that I would have never got otherwise.
Cool. So yeah. So next slide.
Yes.
Okay.
So Paul, you have been really, advancing in Salesforce community since you joined in the Netherlands landscape about 3 years ago. The Netherlands community has gotten like 3 times or 4 times as active, and you are the one of the biggest contributors, I would say. And one of the things you did, I'm not exaggerating. One of the things you did is to engage with Salesforce far more for all of the Netherlands user group basis. And the other thing you did is to, for your own Amsterdam user group, you started to engage partners for organizing organizing sessions, meetings. And so Paul had some things to say. So hey Paul, engaging Salesforce, what are the benefits you're getting, or we are getting as a whole?
Cool. So the slide kind of summarizes it. So I just, but I want to talk you through the points because some of them are slightly hidden and they won't be obvious at first. So the first one is that you get content opportunities on the local Salesforce blogs. You might not be on the .com, but each country has local output that they wish to give. And I think the story there is that I happened to meet someone at Dreamforce, and I'd already had an email saying, oh, are you interested in giving content? And I hadn't followed up on it. And as soon as I did, and I actually gave them some work, some content, I wrote a blog piece, they knew who I was. So it got the content out, but it also helped them. So that's the benefit, and then it establishes a trust relationship. So sometimes it's, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. It also helps my blogging skills. I now blog very regularly, whereas that was the first one I've done in over a year, and now I blog very regularly. So there's kind of, it's given me incentive to do more, and the word gets out, and people see more of the community, because when I write blogs, I always drop in things about the community. There's always a community angle to throw in there, and then it gets out there, mailing lists and distributions, and the internal people at Salesforce read the blogs, so that they then know what we're trying to achieve and what we're doing. To go through the other ones, once I knew the person that's writing the blogs, they're the same people that run the Twitter channels. So if you've got a personal connection, you're far more likely to get them to retweet you. So it's lots about, they just ask them, they don't know who you are, they're like, nah, I don't understand, I don't care, I'm not interested, I'm busy, I've got 20 other priorities to understand where they're coming from. But if they know who you are, then they will actually pay more focus and attention under those competing priorities and help you, even when it's not part of their job. The classic example is that the person who was in charge of tweeting at Salesforce, has here in the Netherlands just resigned earlier this week, and therefore Guido ran the Twitter handle on Friday at You're Dreaming, and I don't think that would have happened if I hadn't had those personal connections. They would have just said, well, the person's gone, it's not happening. Because I had the personal connection, maybe it was guilt, maybe it was just desire to participate, but we got there.
So you get the word out faster and bigger.
Yeah. So really quickly, because I know I've only got a small time slot. So we had dinners with the developer evangelists. If you ever get an opportunity, accept it, because this is the way that I actually met with, I'm not a developer, but I still accepted it, and this is the way that I got to know other members of the Dutch community that I wouldn't have otherwise met, and then we planted the seed. So it wasn't immediate, but 3 months later, well, 6 months later, we started to get a revitalised developer user group. It was a bit doing nothing, and they realised that they had extra support, and some of the challenges would already solved. So to say, oh, use these venues. So it wasn't that Salesforce was, they helped us connect amongst ourselves. It wasn't a headline Salesforce feature, they just helped us communicate with each other, and that was amazing.
Meeting with the head of Salesforce Netherlands.
Kind of speaks for itself, but it was one of our largest ever sessions, because following that, we got her to attend a session, and there was an open forum where people could ask her questions. Pretty amazing.
Funding for our own website.
This is good. Yeah, have you got a slide with that? The next slide?
Sorry.
No, don't have a slide. DutchSFcommunity.org. I think we're world's first. Happy to talk to anyone about how we went and set it up. We decided we didn't want to go for corporate sponsorship because we might have competing demands on it. We didn't want to manage this. They gave us a tiny bit of seed funding just to pay for the hosting. We came up with the content, but we now have a website advertising everything, because there's not just the Trailblazer communities, but there's other things like Salesforce Saturdays, which are happening and very much part of the Ohana, but might not necessarily get featured. Or there's another partner here in the Netherlands that does quarterly releases, and since they're the only partner that does these quarterly release things where anyone can come,
we can summarize all these different initiatives on this website, and people can find it.
And it's all one place, and it's locally created. And the
last one on the list is presenting at the Salesforce team's monthly, quarterly gathering.
Cool. So here the shout out definitely goes to Simon Driscoll. I didn't know that these existed. I was chatting with Simon Driscoll, who runs the Scottish user group. He told me that their local Salesforce has quarterly team meetings. I thought, I want one of those. I then knew to ask the question. I asked the question, kept on asking the question. We got access to the quarterly meetings. We've attended a couple. We don't attend them all, but we've attended a couple. It helps get the words out. It means, and even when we don't get the words out, we get into their internal communications, because they say, sorry, we couldn't manage that, but they put us elsewhere on the platform. So it's just a really positive engagement for our community.
So the close proximity to the Amsterdam office probably helped in some way, because people, Salesforce people from other sides of the world tend to visit Amsterdam also. However, what I was fascinated to speak with Anna is that Anna comes from a small town in Wellington, Anna. And she says, I wanted to know what other customers were doing, and it turns out everyone wants to know what other customers are doing, right? And this is exactly the reason you started your own user group.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Yes, you're on. So, and then this, as it turns out, that this is also the reason that connected the Salesforce employees in your local city who's working remotely. And let me show you another slide. Oh, so Wellington, the capital of New Zealand, actually, and the second biggest city with population of 0.2 million. In comparison, Boston has 0.8 million, Amsterdam 1 million, Sydney 4 million. And there's no Salesforce office presence, but you manage to host Wellington user group regularly to hold meetings once a quarter, cover all topics of Salesforce, whether that's non-profit, it doesn't matter, attracts 30 to 70 participation every time, and the venue is hosted by Salesforce partners, so it's lovely that you can you can use the budget for other things, and you have a killer content by Salesforce solution engineer, and receives the customers forwarded by Salesforce sales executives. I think it's amazing. So, how did you? What sort of people from Salesforce? Let's summarize this. Do you manage to engage in your user
from
group?
Salesforce?
From Salesforce.
Well, I mean, as it says up there, we don't have an official office in Wellington for sure. So there's a handful of people who work from home. Right.
Yeah,
okay.
that's better.
Yeah, I can hear that now. So we have a number of Salesforce staff in Wellington who work remotely. They don't have a central office space. And I think it's because we're a small city that I make the effort to find out if there's any new Salesforce employees. It doesn't matter whether they're an account exec or a solution engineer or they've got some other role. Because to me, everybody the local Loughnan. So we're kind of less split between Salesforce partners and customers. So we try and keep everybody sort of together. Treat everybody as part of the Ohana. So I'm really interested when somebody says, oh, so-and-so has been hired into Salesforce, so I'll go chasing them on LinkedIn.
You go chase after them?
I do.
On LinkedIn?
Or whatever it takes.
Okay,
to
get in touch with them.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
And you actually meet with them in person, don't you?
I do. I'll ask them to come and meet for coffee, and so I find out about what they do, who their customers are, because, you know, as the other community group leaders probably know, you don't get access to who the local customers are. You don't have that information. You can see people who are in your group, but other than that,
you don't get the information who are these customers.
So I'm reliant on Salesforce to tell me, particularly about the small customers. I mean, I probably know the larger customers, but there's a lot of sort of small and medium businesses. And if we've never had anybody from their company at the group meetings, I don't even know who they are.
So the sales executives started to see the benefit of letting these customers know that there's a Wellington user group exists, and what so they started to tell them to go to you. What's in it for them, sales executives?
So I guess they have to work that out for themselves if there is a benefit. Because I mean, like there was a guy who couldn't see the benefit. I mean, salespeople, as you say, there has to be something in it for them. So. They have to work that out for themselves, but there's been a recent starter, he's only been around since December, and he's really seen the value in it. So I held a community group meeting just before I jumped on the plane to come here, and he had reached out to so many customers, and so there were so many new faces that came along because he had definitely made the effort to encourage them to come along.
Okay, and I think it comes down to also this quote. So everyone wants to know what other customers doing, and the sales executives actually don't have the precise knowledge of how other customers are using, and then their new customers or existing customers start to ask sales executives, how are other customers using Salesforce? And then in that case, it's such a convenient place, Salesforce community, where people talk to each other.
Exactly, and so quite a few of our meetings will feature a customer presentation, and that's what draws people in because of that. You know, the quote says that curiosity. Particularly if you choose a well-known company, that really helps as well, because if it's a company that's recognised in your area, then everybody wants to know what they're doing.
Okay, and I think that brings down to one role at least one, if I am not mistaken, one rule you have with the partners, engaging partners, you ask them that they can present, but it has to be the customer story.
Correct. Yes. So I try and get partners to host where we can, because, as you know, it's always expensive if you have to pay for hire somewhere. And so I'm trying to keep all the partners happy and sort of share it around between them. And so they're welcome to host, but if they're going to actually provide a presentation, it has to be a customer, that's for sure.
Right, I see.
They could be there for the technical questions, but it has to be the customer presenting their story.
Right, right, and then so everyone has interest in it, and then they're also happy to host the venue. That's a really nice win-win-win, three-win situation. Right. So we have two community leaders, but let's go to Salesforce side. So Guido, you're up. Guido, your role is senior customer success manager, and Salesforce community is not your official role at all, actually. You're recognized for it, I'm sure, because you've been the go-to person for the Dutch community, but it is naturally your role.
No.
No, it is not naturally your role.
At all, no.
Okay.
No, but when I first joined Salesforce, I joined as a scale success manager, and it basically looks after the smaller customers, and we try to help them in a scaled approach. And what a success manager does is, where an account executive brings in the money to Salesforce, we try, as a success manager, we try to protect it and keep it. One of the things that we do is make sure that our customers are more successful, hence success manager of course, but show customers how they can make better use of the system. A couple of things, or one of the things that we do is host circles of success. You just mentioned that a customer often would like to know what other customers are doing. That's exactly the platform that's used for that. And I think we first met at a Circle of Success.
Yes.
And I first met Sergey at the Circle of Success, and I think Sergey was my first
community entry.
Yeah, and as you know, everybody knows Sergey, so once you meet Sergey, you get pulled in, and it's hard to get out. But he just told me, we have a great group of customers who come together and want to talk about Salesforce. And I'm, coming from Oracle, I thought, wow, that's wild.
It's
People want to talk about their work outside of their work, so why? So, but then I came to one of these community events, and it was super simple. I just had to host. I just had to be there, show my face, get people in. You brought all the content, you delivered all the content, all the great stories, everything. And the only thing I had to do was clean up and kick people out. I mean, it's super easy. And I thought, if this is how we can, keep customers in Salesforce, then I'm super happy to join and help this out, because, even it's not in my job description, it is part of my role to keep, make customers more successful, have them meet each other, and keep them in the Salesforce ecosystem.
I see, and so it's part, but it's what you do, but it's extra time. You put energy in it also, communicate with us. And I think you already touched upon partially, but what's the benefit for you? I know that you have fun, but
it's it's a super great learning opportunity for me, because especially when I started out, I didn't know anything about Salesforce, about the product, about how people are using it. So I was learning a lot from the customers.
okay.
So I think that was the greatest benefit for me. Meeting new people in the ecosystem, and I think it also brought me a lot of benefits by getting the context into Salesforce, because frankly, I think Paul and Sergey, they know their way around the ecosystem better than I do, and they know the HQ better than I do. So it's also good for me for my networking connections.
Right. And we were chatting about what would be the tips for communities to find their way in Salesforce itself. Do you have anything you would like to mention?
First of all, I think the hardest thing is to really find somebody who's open to listen to your idea. And then second of all, if you have an idea and somebody's open to to do anything, to host and to hear you out, like Anna for instance, make sure that you have content, and the only thing that they need to do is just be there. I think you made it very, very clear, and you're meeting people, you're approaching them. I think that the Salesforce people in New Zealand are very lucky to have you, because the only thing they have to do is basically show up. You provide all the content. You are actually dealing with all the the regulation around everything. So I think that's the best way.
Right.
Find somebody and just show them what you have to offer instead of what they have to do. The only thing they have to do is drink a beer and eat some pizza. That's it.
Fantastic. Right, and for EMEA region, Christy. Oh. I'm repressing something else. Yes. Christy, she was here earlier a little bit. Unfortunately, she had to travel, and she sent a sincere apology that she couldn't be here. However, she is also not. Her role is not the community manager or anything, but she's very keen to support the Salesforce community. And for the EMEA region, if you are looking for the Salesforce person who would like to help you out in the region, then please get in contact with her. She's offering to find someone, so post that the event is happening in your region in the Salesforce internal chatter group. So please do reach out to her if you're in search for someone from Salesforce. With that, we have 2 minutes for questions and answers, and I see Paul.
2 minutes, yes.
2 minutes, yes, right. Any questions from, yes?
Now Paul has gone through it and Guido is here. So I run the developer group in Dublin. It's gone for over 6.5 years now. And we have no contact at all with Salesforce, which is funny because Salesforce's main office in Europe is in Dublin. I'd love to meet someone like Success Manager yourself, Guido, in Dublin, as everyone else is thinking of their own city. How do we find out who that is? Paul was lucky to find you. We're not that lucky, so how do we find people like you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Sorry?
More Guidos.
More, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, or just me. I happen to know a lot of people in Dublin, and one of the things that will benefit you in a couple of years is the Salesforce Tower that's being built with an on the floor. So, so that's one thing, but you need to have somebody there. Even for everybody here, approach me. I can. Chrissy can find out, and you just need to find one person who can help you out. So I think that's about it. Know somebody who knows somebody else.
Barry, I'm going to be there with Kelly Goyette. She's an AE there, and also she's
Great. People shouting out the help. Hello?
I'm going to be there when I go. Kelly Goyette, she used to be in San Francisco. I've got a really good relationship with her. She's in the UK. She lives in Dublin now, so she's a big reason why I'm going, so I'll make sure to connect you. She's great with connecting with people, and a few more people there, so I will make sure when I'm there, I'll just bring you along with me and at the base camp, and make sure you meet everybody that I meet with as far as Salesforce proper.
Absolutely. So everyone else can.
I was going to say, I know for me, being involved with the user group in Wellington, originally Salesforce weren't supportive. I had a co-leader who was blatantly using it as a marketing tool, and so Salesforce were completely hands-off because they didn't like what was going on. And once he stepped down, and that was when it started to happen, and I worked really hard. So that was the turning point for us in Wellington, was actually having Salesforce staff on board. It's only grown to the extent that it has because of their support. It would not have happened otherwise. So absolutely you know, however you can find some of the local staff. Just, yeah.
Because when we started our group, whenever it was years ago, it was mandatory you had to have a Salesforce person. I actually officially have a Salesforce coordinator. I don't know who that is now.
Oh,
So we actually meant to have one.
there you go.
I think this is the loveliest part of the session actually, and let's carry on in the tea room sessions.
So just to add, so Christy Fedora works pan EMEA, so she's based in London, she travels to the Netherlands, she travels to Belgium, she travels all over the place. So if you're looking for your contact in EMEA, she will be able to put you there, or the communities team will be able to put you into contact, because I know India has a developer evangelist team. So bar one of those, you can find your local resources, and it tends to be the developer evangelists tend to be better resources. So even if you're not a developer, they can still help you out along that journey.
Right. Thank you very much, audience, for coming in.
Quick question.
Quick question.
Just about, because I know there was Salesforce evangelist doing meetups and so on. Is there option to bring them to local groups as well, or is the same question just
I think,
contact?
right.
It depends on what country, I think.
Yes, it's a regional. So right. So I would love to have it continued, but I'm going to thank the panelists and for the audience to come in and join. Thank you very much.
Thank you.